The high-performance void. In the world today, we are living through the most optimized era in human history. We have the podcasts, the biohacking tools, and the productivity frameworks. We wake up at 5 a.m., track our deep sleep, and master our dopamine levels. We are more efficient than any generation before us. But here is the uncomfortable truth. We have never been more anxious. We have successfully optimized the means to live, but we have completely lost the reason to live. This is what I call the optimization trap. We are building faster and faster cars, but we have no destination. We are climbing the ladder of success with incredible efficiency, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. If you feel a persistent, hollow feeling despite your achievements, it's not because you need more habits. It's because you are suffering from what Viktor Frankl called the existential vacuum. Modern culture tells you that if you just hustle harder or find the right morning routine, the emptiness will go away. But you cannot solve a spiritual hunger with a biological solution. Your restlessness isn't a sign that you are failing. It's a sign that your will to meaning is starving. We have spent so much time focusing on the speed of our lives that we have forgotten the direction. This video is about hitting the reset button. It's about moving beyond performance and into purpose. We are going to dive into the architecture of the soul to find the missing piece that makes all your efforts actually worth it. Chapter 1. The glitch in the human biohack. The modern wellness industry treats your mind like a machine that just needs the right software update. If you feel stressed, they tell you to take a supplement. If you feel empty, they tell you to try another mindfulness app. But your restlessness isn't a biological error or a chemical imbalance that needs to be hacked. It is a signal. Ancient wisdom suggests that this restlessness is actually your greatest asset. One of history's deepest observers of the human heart once noted that we are created with an infinite thirst. Therefore, nothing finite, no amount of money, status, or physical health will ever fully satisfy us. When you try to fill a spiritual void with a biological solution, you end up in a cycle of burnout. You don't need a better routine. You need a higher order. Think of your life as a computer system. Biohacking is like cleaning the hardware, but meaning is the operating system. If the OS is corrupted, no amount of hardware cleaning will make the machine run properly. The glitch you feel is your internal compass telling you that you are made for something larger than just optimal performance. In this chapter, we challenge the idea that you can optimize your way into happiness. Happiness is not a goal. It is a byproduct of living for something greater than yourself. When you stop trying to fix your restlessness and start listening to what it's telling you, you begin the real work of transformation. You move from being a user of your life to being the architect of your existence.
Chapter 2. Internal Sovereignty. In our current culture, we talk endlessly about mental health, but we rarely talk about character. We've medicalized our unhappiness, treating every bout of sadness as a disorder to be managed rather than a challenge to be met. But true resilience isn't the absence of stress, it's the presence of internal sovereignty. This is the realization that while you cannot control the inputs of your life, the economy, the job market, or the noise of the world, you are the absolute monarch of your internal response. Viktor Frankl discovered this in a setting where every external freedom was destroyed. He realized that even when you are stripped of your name and your possessions, there remains one final sacred territory: your ability to choose your own attitude. When you reclaim your sovereignty, you stop being a victim of your environment. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this calling me to become?" This is the shift from a fragile mind to an unshakable one. Your worth is no longer tied to external validation or temporary success. It is anchored in your internal integrity. Mastering your internal sovereignty means widening the gap between a stimulus and your response. It's about creating a mental buffer where you decide how an event will affect you. In a world that is constantly trying to outrage or distract you, sovereignty is the ultimate act of rebellion. It is the foundation of a life that is built to last, regardless of the storm outside. Chapter 3. The Wealth Paradox. We are obsessed with financial freedom and the mindset of abundance. We are told that once we reach a certain number in our bank account, we will finally be free to be happy. But there is a psychological ceiling to what money can provide. This is the wealth paradox. You can have all the means to live, but zero meaning to live for. Many high achievers find that the closer they get to their financial goals, the more their existential vacuum grows. Why? Because they've spent their lives building a foundation of sand. They have mistaken the tools of life for the purpose of life. Money is a magnificent servant, but a terrible god. If your primary goal is external wealth, you will always be one market crash away from an identity crisis. To find true abundance, you must reorder your desires. You must invest in internal capital, things like wisdom, service, and deep convictions. These are infinite goods that don't depreciate. When your will to meaning is your primary investment, you achieve a level of freedom that no recession can touch. You discover that enough isn't a specific number, it's a state of alignment between your actions and your values. This doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue success, but it means you should pursue it as a tool for your purpose, not as the purpose itself. When you solve the wealth paradox, you stop working for your money and start making your money work for your mission.
Chapter 4. The Archive of Strength. We live in a throwaway culture that is terrified of the past. We are told to live only in the moment, as if our history were a burden of regret. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of time. Your past is not a graveyard. It is an indestructible fortress of meaning. Viktor Frankl called this the storehouse of being. He argued that nothing in the past is lost, but everything is irretrievably stored. Every action you've taken with integrity, every hardship you've endured with dignity, and every person you've helped is a harvest that is now part of the fabric of reality. It can never be taken away from you. When you realize that your past is safe, you lose the fear of wasted time. Even the most difficult years of your life are not lost if you use them to forge your character. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They are items in your archive of strength. They are evidence that you've lived, fought, and grown. This perspective gives you a deep, quiet confidence. You don't have to panic about the future because your storehouse is already growing. You are the sum of every meaningful choice you have ever made. By acknowledging that your history is a permanent source of power, you find the strength to face the present. You aren't walking toward a void. You are building a legacy that is already complete in the eyes of eternity. Chapter 5. The Legacy Factory. The final shift in this new perspective is moving from a life of consumption to a life of contribution. Modern growth culture is often very self-centered. My habits, my performance, my success. But a life focused entirely on the self is a life that is destined to feel small and restless. The glitch in human desire is that we only find ourselves when we lose ourselves in something greater. This is the principle of self-transcendence. Think of your life not as a project to be managed, but as an assignment to be completed. Every person you encounter and every task you perform is an opportunity to leave a trace of meaning in the world. Life doesn't just happen to us, it asks us questions, and we answer with our lives. This is what I call the legacy factory. Every decision you make today is a brick in a structure that will outlast you. By viewing your life through the lens of contribution, the pressure to be perfect vanishes and is replaced by the power to be useful. You find an unbreakable peace, knowing that you are part of a story much larger than your own. The search for meaning is not a search for a feeling, it is a search for a task. When you find your task, the existential vacuum disappears. You stop being a consumer of your own happiness and start being a creator of value for others. That is the ultimate biohack.
That is the only way to truly beat the optimization trap and live a life that is as deep as it is efficient.